There's a kind of rage that doesn't scream. It simmers, low and deep, like coals beneath your ribs. I felt it the night my little sister stood face to face with a smirking cop, alone, surrounded, and black in all the ways they say fit the description. But when she read his badge number out loud, the smirk faded, and a lesson got planted deep inside both of us about pride, injustice, and the cost of restraint. Name's Marcus King, 31, South Side Chicago. Big brother first, artist second. My sister Jada, she just turned 19, freshman year, studying criminal justice, if you can believe it. Said she wanted to fix it from the inside. Always been bold like that. That night was supposed to be simple. She was headed to the train station after a late shift at the diner. I was a few blocks away painting a mural in Bronzeville, headphones on, phone off, lost in color. By the time I saw her missed calls, it was already happening. I got the full story later, but let me paint the scene. Empty station, cold air, just Jada, a duffel bag, and 2 cops. White, mid-30s, the usual cut of uniform, utility belt, bored eyes, and that look like they've already made up their mind about who you are. She told me they stopped her before she even reached the stairs. "You match the description," one of them said. "Female, black hoodie, dark jeans." She said her hands were shaking, not from guilt, but from fury. "I'm a student. I work 2 jobs. This hoodie's from Target, and I'm just trying to get home," she told them. But he smirked. The taller one said, "Easy now. Nobody said you were guilty. Just don't run." That word, run, it always says more than it means, especially to us. Jada kept her hands visible, spoke calmly, offered her ID. But they didn't take it. They circled her. One radioed something in, the other leaned in close. "You sure this isn't your 3rd strike?" he asked, like it was a joke. She tried to breathe, tried to remember what I always told her growing up. Don't let them bait you. Use your voice like a scalpel, not a sword. So she asked, calmly but firm, "What's your badge number?" The smirk grew. "You want to file something, sweetheart?" That's when she stepped back, took out her phone, and said it again, louder this time. "What is your badge? Number question mark?" Still smiling, he turned slightly, showed the badge. But that was his mistake, because Jada? She read it out loud, twice, into the camera, and that smile, gone. I got there 10 minutes later, heart thumping like bass in my ears. I pulled up fast, didn't even park right, just ran. She was standing under the station light, arms crossed, 2 squad cars still on the scene, and the same 2 cops? Stone-faced now, all that energy gone quiet. I ran to her, asked if she was okay. She didn't cry, didn't yell. She said, "He smirked until I said his name. Now he's worried who might have heard it." A supervisor showed up shortly after. An older black woman in plain clothes. She asked questions, took statements, tried to smooth it over, but the air was already heavy. Jada had already learned something I'd prayed she wouldn't have to. Not this way. We sat in the car afterward, streetlights glowing, silence stretching. Then she asked, "Why did it feel like I had to prove I deserved peace?" I didn't answer right away. Because how do you explain to someone you love that even when you do everything right, you're still seen as a threat before a person? I looked at her, saw the hurt in her eyes, not just fear, but disappointment, like something broke. So I told her, because this system wasn't built to protect us, it was built to watch us. And that badge, that number, it's not just metal, it's memory, documentation, and sometimes the only weapon we got. She nodded, quiet, and then she said, "I didn't cry in front of them, but I cried before you got there." That moment, it left something in both of us, Not a wound, not exactly, but a scar. Because now she walks different, eyes always scanning, keys between her fingers, voice steady but guarded. And me? I still paint, still write stories. But now I sign her name into every mural, every canvas, like a promise that her voice won't disappear. Because the truth is, pride doesn't always roar. Sometimes it's the silence you hold on to when you're dying to scream. And restraint? It's a gift we didn't ask for, but had to master to survive. 2 weeks later, Jada got a letter in the mail. No name, just a typed line. Keep your phone down next time, some badges bite back. We reported it, filed it, passed it up the chain. But you know what scares me most? Not that someone sent it, but that whoever did knew exactly where to find her. So now I stay up at night, phone charged, lights on, and I ask myself, what happens when being brave isn't enough to keep you safe? You think when it's over, you can exhale. That after the confrontation, after the names, badge numbers, and threats, it ends. But the thing about pushing back, the system always pushes harder. And this time, it wasn't just smirks or sideways glances. It was something darker, quieter, more personal. I started noticing little things first. Jada's voice stayed low even in the house. She began locking her bedroom door during the day. Her phone rang from unknown numbers twice as often. Sometimes they hung up. Sometimes it was just breathing. She never told Mama, didn't want to worry her. But I knew, because I could feel it too. That weight on your chest, like you're being watched, even when you're alone. One night I found her sitting on the porch steps, hoodie pulled over her head, hands gripped tight around her pepper spray. She said, I keep dreaming about that badge number. I hear it being called like a bingo game, like I'm just a number on their list. That's when I knew. This wasn't just about the smirk anymore. This was about making her afraid to speak again. A few days later, we got a knock at the door. Mr. Grant, senior transit supervisor, late 50s. Black man with a permanent crease in his brow, like the city had aged him in reverse. He'd heard about the incident. I got a daughter her age, he said. So I came in person. He brought incident reports, surveillance printouts, a grainy screenshot of the cop's shoulder badge. He even brought a letter, typed, sealed, supposedly from Internal Affairs. But something in his eyes made me pause. His hands were shaking, not from age, but from something else. You ever walk between two walls, he said, and realize both are closing in? I didn't answer, because I think we both knew. The walls weren't just closing. They were watching too. That weekend, I came home from work to find a small cardboard box on the porch. No label, no address, just our last name written in marker. I called for Jada, but she was upstairs, headphones in. I opened it slow. Inside was her duffel bag, the one she had the night it all started. But it was burned along the bottom seam, scorched black like someone lit it and put it out halfway through. And tucked inside it? A folded sheet of paper with just 3 words, "This your warning." We called it in. Again. Filed it. Again. The officer who came to take the report this time, same division, same smirk, different face. He barely glanced at the paper, didn't even touch the bag. Probably just a prank, he muttered. You know how kids are. Jada stood in the doorway, fists clenched so tight I thought she'd snap her fingers off. But she didn't yell. She didn't cry. She walked up, looked the cop in the eye, and asked, "What's your badge number?" That night, as we sat at the kitchen table, I told her I wanted to send her away. Out of state. Maybe stay with Aunt Kira for a while. She just stared at me. "You taught me to speak up," she said. "Now you're asking me to disappear?" I didn't have an answer. Because truthfully, I was scared. Not just for her, but for me. scared of what I'd do if they came any closer. Then she said something I'll never forget. Restraint isn't silence, it's survival. But silence? That's surrender. 3 days later, Mr. Grant showed up again. This time, he wasn't composed. He looked like he hadn't slept. His hands trembled as he lit a cigarette on our porch. He told us he got reassigned, demoted. Apparently, speaking up came with consequences, even for someone who thought he was protected by his position. They said I leaked internal documents. I didn't even print anything. He paused, exhaled smoke like it was pain. Do you know what it feels like to watch your whole career fold because you told the truth? I nodded. Jada didn't. She asked instead, "What are you going to do now?" He looked at her. And then he said, "Same thing I told my daughter. Survive first, then fight smart." That night, I checked the security camera I installed out front. Around 2:13 a.m., a car pulled up across the street, headlights off, sat there for 20 minutes. Then the driver got out, hood up, face shadowed, walked to our curb, looked straight into the camera. He raised a finger, not to wave, but to point, not at the house, at Jada's window. And then he smiled, not a smirk, not a threat. Something colder, like he already knew we wouldn't do a damn thing. But here's the thing. He messed up. Even if the truth puts a target on our backs. The next morning, a letter showed up at Jada's school mailbox. Inside, a photocopy of her student ID, and a red circle around her graduation year. No note, no signature, just a message written in ink. You won the first round. Now let's see how far you're willing to go. Sometimes justice don't roar. Sometimes it don't march or shout. Sometimes it whispers, then cuts clean. I learned that the day Jada stood in front of our neighborhood council, face steady, voice calm, and said, "Here's what they did, and here's why they thought they'd get away with it." She didn't cry. She didn't flinch. And in that room full of silence, she stripped every shield off that badge, because truth, when spoken from the scar, is a blade they can't dodge. After the incident at her school, the letter with her graduation year circled in red, I went into full protector mode. Cameras, paper trails, legal calls. But it was Supervisor Grant who made the biggest move. He didn't fold, didn't fade into early retirement like they wanted. Instead, he handed a confidential report to a civil rights journalist, a woman named Kalisha Dupre, who'd been digging into police retaliation cases for years. And when Kalisha's article dropped, the badge behind the threat. 3 badge numbers, 2 leaked memos, 1 very familiar smirk. The article didn't name Jada, but the streets knew, the people knew, and the department, they knew the clock was ticking. I expected lawsuits. What I didn't expect was a knock at our door. From the same officer who'd smirked at Jada months before. Only this time he wasn't smirking. He looked hollow, sweaty. His badge was off, and in his hand, a resignation letter. Internals breathing down everyone's neck. "I'm just trying to get ahead of it," he muttered. Jada stood behind me, arms crossed, calm, unmoving. She didn't need to scream. She didn't need to curse him out. Her silence did the work. As he walked away, she said one thing. "You thought I was just a girl. Now the city sees me." The smirking cop lost his pension. His supervisor was reassigned to desk duty pending review. And a new community oversight board, half black, half Latino, mostly women, was put in place across the transit division. It wasn't perfection, but it was power shifting. Not overnight, but visibly. And Mr. Grant? They tried to bury him in paperwork. Instead, he ran for city council. One last thread needed cutting. That shadowy man from the camera footage, the one who pointed at Jada's window. He thought he'd stay anonymous, but tech leaves footprints. The car was city-issued. A private investigator traced it back to a quiet contractor in LAPD's Community Intel Division. They called it precautionary surveillance. We called it what it was, intimidation. And thanks to Kalisha's story going viral, that man was fired. Quietly. But not before the world saw his reflection in our window. This ain't the kind of story that ends in handcuffs or heroic courtroom applause. It ends in something louder. Witness. A whole city watching a black girl refuse to bow. A big brother who learned that protecting someone sometimes means letting them stand. And a system used to silence, learning what it sounds like when truth won't shut up. Jada still flinches when a number's whispered too loud. I still check the cameras twice before bed. But we smile again. Because that scar? It reminds us we didn't surrender. We taught pride, we practiced restraint, and we confronted injustice. With eyes open, fists down, and voices strong. They wanted her quiet, they got a storm instead. Some stories, they don't go viral. They go deep. Into classrooms, into council meetings, into dinner tables where black kids ask, why do they treat us different? And now, we have answers that don't end in fear. We have names, badge numbers, receipts, because the thread that connects our struggle, it's braided in memory, stitched in resilience, and passed down loud. So if this story moved you, if it stirred something in your chest, subscribe. Not for us, but for the next kid with a voice and a badge number to remember. This is CrimeBot, and we don't just tell stories, we remember.